Oh, hey, I didn't see you there.
Hey there, Gothamites. Welcome one and all to another episode of the Arkham Sessions. My name is Brian Ward. With me, as always, the psychologist to the superheroes, superheroines, and supervillains of Gotham City and beyond. She's Dr. Drea Letamendi. Hello, Drea.
Hello, Brian. How are you?
Excited to be podcasting with you again. It's been a minute. That's partially my fault because last weekend I took you away. You and I took a quick trip up to Santa Barbara because of a job thing that I had to do. But it was very special because you got to meet a comedic legend, Carol Burnett. For those of you who don't know Carol Burnett, what's wrong with you? She is a comedic icon. You would know her from her own TV show, The Carol Burnett Show. And then...
What's B?
What?
You said Carol Burnett A. Is there a Carol Burnett B?
No, she's not a B. There's no B.
Why did you say A?
Well, no, I was going to say, I don't know what I was going to say.
I know.
But, well, I was going to list a couple of things.
Oh, okay.
But then also, you would know her from, she was Mrs. Hannigan in Annie. She was in Noises Off. She's been in a number of things, and she was an absolute delight, as always, and you got to meet her.
She was delightful.
But that meant we did not have an opportunity to record an episode.
Never start a list via A or one and not complete
No, hold on.
That's the worst thing you can do with me.
I was going to complete the thought until I was derailed from the thought.
By your own brain?
Little thing called ADHD.
Yeah.
Drea. You might know
your little thing and my little thing are clashing.
You might know a little something about that.
So, yes, super fun. But you also have another announcement.
We do have another announcement. This is actually more of an amendment to an announcement we already did on our last episode, which is that WonderCon has officially released their schedule for next week. And guess what? We're on it. Drea, why don't you tell the good folks what they can expect to find on Friday night at 8 p.m. in room 300A.
A.
And that's not a list.
That's it.
The name of the room, 300A.
Those are all the deets. We are super excited to bring a fun topic, analyzing Arkham Asylum. So we'll be returning to our podcast's stomping grounds, so to speak, and we'll be deconstructing and celebrating one of Gotham City's most notorious and most talked about psychiatric institutions. I think it's the only. We could get into the nuts and bolts. Technically, Gotham General is going to...
Yeah, we can't go into this now.
Anyway, yes, so Arkham Asylum is the topic, but really it's about deconstructing and celebrating Batman villains, because recently we've noticed there has been just a lot of focus on the Penguin and on the second Joker movie and a couple of villains. Clayface is coming up, so there seems to be this celebratory vibe, this main character energy that these Batman villains are giving, and yet we want to return to some of the facts and the fiction of this. Tease apart what do we know to be true about their psychological presentation, and also something I like to do, which is to decriminalize the mental health aspects and normalize some of the mental health experiences and themes that we'll be talking about. So it's a breakdown of all of those topics. We'll be joined by two DC writers, Kyle Higgins, who's a comic book writer, and then Ernie Altbacher, who is a screenwriter. He's adapted Batman Hush for the screen. He's done a ton of actually television shows as well as full-length DC films. So he and I have actually crossed paths on some of the Warner Brothers DC Comics projects we've done.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll talk a little bit about those projects as well.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Again, that's Friday night, March 28th, 8 p.m. So it's going to be, as always, a little WonderCon After Dark action. So I expect a lot of good fun there. And it's a big room. It's 300A. So yeah, come join us and let's talk the villains of Gotham City.
Well, before we get started with the show, I have a new segment that I'm just dropping on you. You don't know about
new
this.
segment?
Yes. Well, we don't really have segments, do we? This is a new segment that we've never done, but we don't usually do segments.
Okay.
And I'm kind of experimenting with the title. I kind of want to call it like a psych bite.
A psych
bite, like
Okay.
something that is top of mind in the media, in the news, something people are watching and talking about. It's like a water cooler hot topic.
Okay.
Do you ever talk about things at the water cooler?
We don't have a water cooler.
Yeah. Well, it would be something like that.
I guess that's not true. We do.
You do?
Yeah, at the office we do have more of a modern day water cooler. It's just hooked directly up to the water. Like we're not like replacing jugs of water in the water cooler or anything. But it does cool the water. It also heats the water depending on which one you want.
We have a sparkling water machine.
What?
So you get sparkling.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. You have a machine for sparkling water?
We have a machine and it can give you sparkling water, hot water, cold water, ambient water. Ambient water is just like room temperature.
80.
Yeah, fancy.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you have conversations at the water cooler and you want to know your stuff, this week's Psych Bite is about lorazepam. So lots of folks are talking about lorazepam because White Lotus is a show that is it's on HBO and it's pretty popular. I think it's in its third season.
That is correct.
Very strange and mysterious, usually kind of a whodunit show. This Psych Bite isn't necessarily about the show, but there's a character on that show Parker Posey plays, and she's constantly popping these pills and she's naming it. She's saying this is her lorazepam, and a lot of folks are asking.
I don't want to correct you right off the bat though. She establishes access to the lorazepam, but she's not the one constantly popping them.
We see that her husband, who normally doesn't take medication, has found them and has found that they are effective. So what is lorazepam? It's an anxiolytic. Technically, it's a benzodiazepine, which
we like to affectionately call benzos.
We call them benzos. And if you're not familiar with benzos, these are depressants, and these are very fast-acting anxiety reducing medications. You might have heard of Valium or Klonopin or Xanax. They're also in the family of benzodiazepines. And something that is interesting about these medications and really is rather unique about them as far as psychotropic medications is that they act pretty quickly. So the show is accurate when you see a character take the medication and within minutes we see them get relaxed and get kind of drowsy. And for the most part, it gives this very comfortable and relaxing state. So it's not necessarily meant to put you to sleep. It's not a sleep medication. It's meant to calm down stress and anxiety. And it's very, very commonly prescribed because it's pretty fast acting. But what the show actually is hinting at is that when you take many of these medications, it can cause you to feel so drowsy and very lethargic and kind of absent-minded. So you almost have this like drunk, you feel kind of drunk on this. And the other thing too, and this is not an endorsement for it, and I'm actually really glad that it's prescription only. So the only way to access this medication legally is through a prescription from a physician. But it is such a quick acting, fast acting anxiety relief, and also when taken over time, can start to be quite addictive. So this is why some people tend to start taking it and then take it for longer periods of time. And it's not meant to be taken in that fashion. It's meant to be taken.
I mean, I don't know that anything is meant to be taken in that fashion. Is it?
Well, I think this is why it's important to talk about this, because anti-anxiety and antidepressant medications that have a different chemical reaction, a different chemical process, are meant to be taken for years and years. And those
I just meant in the frequency that they are taking it on this particular show.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. So the amount that somebody takes in a given day and the amount that they take over a period of weeks, that's not normal. That is considered, that's a concern. And I think it's important to mention that while this is a very effective medication for anxiety, it should only be taken for 3 to 4 weeks. Could be a little bit longer until the source of the anxiety or the panic is addressed and resolved. So it's kind of meant to be a short-term solution.
And in just a couple of weeks, we're going to find out if the source of that anxiety is, it's already been revealed, but we're going to find out if it's resolved. By the way, it's an excellent show.
It's a great show.
If people are watching it, they should. But
anyway.
It's interesting because I know that I did ask you about them when she showed the bottle, and sometimes they make up medications and things like that on shows and movies, and sometimes you're like, no, that doesn't exist, and other times you're like, oh yeah, that definitely exists, and yes, this is definitely how it would be used.
And it's definitely how it's used. I've taken lorazepam before. I used to take it's called Ativan 2. That's the brand name. I've taken Ativan before flights. I used to get quite anxious when taking long flights, and I almost missed a flight because I had taken the Ativan in the airport and had kind of lost track of time, like just got lethargic and didn't realize that it was time to board. And then I panicked. And so ended up panicking anyway for different reasons.
You don't use it anymore, though, when we take flights together.
I don't use it as often because, as I mentioned, you can address most phobias and most anxieties that are attributed to like a situation, like a phobia, pretty quickly. So over time, taking more flights and having more experiences in airports allowed me to get more comfortable.
I thought it was just me. I thought it was the fact that you're hanging out with me and then
Not really.
You just didn't need it anymore. You're like, oh, I'm calm on airplanes now.
Well, so that's my psych bite.
All right, psych bite. And how often is this is this something we can expect every episode, or is this gonna, just pop up every now and again, similar to my facts relating to real life things?
I don't know. We'll see. If I remember, then yes. But people can also submit psych bite topics.
Oh.
Use the Discord, use our voice message machine on our website. And if there's something that you feel like is a hot topic, people are talking about it, you want us to address it, let us know.
Okay. Well, I feel like that the hot topic that we are going to address today is sort of a backslide for our main character, right? In the episode A Seat at the Table of Harley Quinn, also found on Max. This is an episode that some might find a little disappointing because our hero, Harley, has now found herself fully embedded in the Legion of Doom, and yet what we thought had happened, her having gotten over, romantically at least, her old boss and lover, the Joker, he has proven that once again, he's just got the ability to reel her back in. And I know, Drea, that you in particular were looking forward to storylines that did not revolve around him, and that you were happy to see that she had been sort of getting better and focusing on other things. How did this episode make you feel?
I didn't dislike it. I thought that it was important to remind us that she's growing and developing across, I guess, different facets of her autonomy and her self-efficacy and just defining herself separate from the Joker. It's it makes sense in the story. She now is a part of the Legion of Doom. She goes to the, I don't know, like initiation meeting or induction. I don't know what you call that, but they welcomed her into the League and gave speeches. And the Joker was the person who basically affirmed that she belongs there.
Yeah.
And I think that it's natural for her to start to revisit those feelings that she had towards him. And she also was very hesitant to believe him and trust him again, that there were signs of some growth, because she was suspicious and expected him to turn a heel. Like, she just was kind of on guard, which is normal.
But he just kept saying all the nice things.
Yeah, I mean, he knew how to manipulate her, and that's important for us to see, because she made progress and then had a setback. But it's very human. It's very normal. We all have setbacks. It is, our journey of recovery is a spiky, non-linear line. Sometimes it goes in all sorts of different ways. That doesn't mean that we're not making progress. I think a setback is probably normal to see. But
let me ask you this to sort of bounce off of that. When you, as a psychologist, sometimes a therapist to patients, what do you do professionally when you see that patient have that setback? Like, what is the first thing that a good psychologist would do in this case?
It's really important to give the client some space and to be like a good coach and a good supporter, because the first thing that will happen to them usually is a sense of guilt and self-disappointment. I should have known better. I saw the signs coming. I'm stupid. I'm failing. I don't deserve better. Like, if this happens again and again, maybe this is what I deserve. I'm not strong enough. I lack resilience. I lack insight. A lot of very hurtful and hateful self-talk, self-doubt.
Yeah.
And so it's important to just acknowledge that this is very normal, that all of us have setbacks, whether you're recovering from an abusive relationship, a set of behaviors that you're trying to reduce, substance use. Like, we all are very complicated beings, and to want love and affection is a very human thing. And to kind of bring it down to, like, that's really what you were looking for.
Yeah.
And you got this clear and seemingly genuine affirmation and care from him. And he let that last a long time. So it wasn't just a moment.
Yeah.
He gave this speech that was really appreciative of her. And he said, "You've earned this. You belong here." And then he invited her out. And
he later called her a big deal.
Yeah. He was really kind of, what we would say is he's love bombing her. He's giving her all of these compliments and attention and saying all the things that on paper resonate with her. Like, yes, I'm strong. Yes, I'm this. Yes, I deserve to be here. And it's just the timing of that was really unfortunate, because she then, remember that they had this, I guess I would call it like a strategic meeting or something with all the villains, and they're trying to figure out like what the next heist is, or what the next evil thing they're going to do.
Like a daily or weekly meeting, amongst the departments, run down your. I sort of equated it to the kind of meeting you would see in a movie about journalists and newspapers, where you've got the editor in chief, and in this case, it would be Lex Luthor, and he's going down the table. Who's got something coming up? What kind of what do you need? What kind of support do you need from the Legion of Doom? And Joker has a ridiculous idea that's very similar to many of his other ideas that will inevitably not work. And Harley is the first person to sort of chime in and say, no, this doesn't make sense. Why would you do this? It doesn't feel like it's fully fleshed out. This is just a kernel of an idea. And the rest of the Legion back her up. And Joker, rather than flying off the handle, actually thanks her for being willing to stand up to him, because it is now going to help him fully flesh out this idea more. And it's going to be bigger and better than he ever imagined, because he just hadn't put enough thought into it. He had not put his heart into this particular heist. And so he invites her out to help him sort of flesh out this idea further, to prove that he has changed. Now, I want to ask you, from the Joker's perspective, when he is love bombing her, and really I think this could apply to anyone who is guilty of love bombing someone, in this particular case, do you think he actually means what he is saying when he tells her the Legion looks up to you, the Legion respects you, you are a big deal, you are Harley Quinn, and you're the only person who's ever been willing to stand up to me? Do you think he is telling her simply what she wants to hear in order to sort of get to his end game, which is, spoiler alert, he once again ends up pushing her into the way of, you know, as he retreats from Batman, he sort of pushes her to be his getaway? And, or do you think that he is just simply manipulating her?
I believe everything that he does is a part of his Machiavellian personality.
Sure.
That in the moment he may feel a sense of, because he does care about her in some twisted way. Like, I do think that he's fond of her, and he you know, these two used to party. Like, he's into that. He'll F with that. Like, that's, remember that.
But he never needed to party with her.
No, but remember that the Joker is all about adrenaline and the high of a risk.
Yeah.
And so she's risky, and he likes to be near that. So to give her compliments and to love bomb her, a part of it is that it makes him feel good. He's kind of enjoying that interpersonal relationship. But above all, you know, at the very root of his functioning, it's all about his way and how he can get attention, how he can get success, how he can get wealth, how he can get popularity. There was nothing he won't do. And there's almost a pattern that he's used to. You know, we'll say that she's used to a pattern. He's also used to a pattern. He's used to her fawning over him and doing everything he says, and he'll get his way. So yeah, I think there's a superficial degree to which he believes what he's saying. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah. And I think that you are right. Could I also posit another facet of this diamond? I think that it is very likely that he meant everything he said, but not emotionally. I think it was factually correct, and he's bothered by that. I think he has been taken down a peg within the Legion. What started out as no one is willing to go up against him, we've now seen an entire season where her entire mission has been to dethrone him as the worst villain in Gotham City, or even just the DC universe in general. And he has watched her succeed, and it upsets him. So when he says that the Legion respects you and you're a big deal, you're Harley Quinn, I think he is telling the truth. I think he is saying exactly what is true.
Are you saying that
it bothers him?
Are you saying he's saying you're my biggest competition?
Yes.
And that and I'm going to put it into
push
this.
You out of a helicopter.
I'm going to name what I named to, because I know this to be true, and also this is a bigger plan. This isn't just a moment.
It's what you want to hear. It's what you need to hear, and I'm going to give that to you. But it really bothers me, and you need to be taken down a peg. And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to manipulate you into helping me, and then I am going to get us into trouble, knowing that Batman will be there. And I am once again going to prove to you that you're the same Harley Quinn you have always been. And I know how to get you there. And so he begins saying all the lovely things to her. He kisses her in the helicopter. He says, no, I needed you here for this. You know, like there was a moment where she thought he was going to leave her on the boat, similar to the way that he did in the first episode. And instead he says, come on, Harley, come up the ladder to the helicopter with me. And that completely blows her away because she's never been allowed to escape with him. She's always been used to block Batman from the Joker. And in this case, he takes her willingly, knowing that this is just going to help him further take her down a notch. And then he says, no, I need you here for this. And he makes out with her in the helicopter and then says, and this, and then kicks her out of the helicopter. And as she plummets toward the ocean beneath her, she starts having flashes of her past and her relationship with him and how he's mistreated her from the beginning. And I feel like this was the Joker simply reclaiming his, place at the top.
Yeah, reminding her that he will always be better than her and that he will always be able to have control over her, which is a very huge wound.
Yeah.
It's reopening that wound of abuse survivorship that she's worked so hard to heal from.
And by doing so, he's even managed to get the Legion of Doom to separate her from her support structure. Suddenly the Legion her gang, Dr. Psycho, Clayface, King Shark, they are all taken downstairs to the basement where the goons and the henchmen work, and it's just ridiculously awful work conditions.
If you looked at the detail of that basement floor, you would see Steve.
Yeah.
Steve's down there.
Yeah, Steve is down there. But yeah, so
yeah, I'm so glad you pointed that out. I didn't realize that because one of the symptoms or one of the signs of an abusive relationship is to isolate a person, to kind of like get their support system away from them. And I didn't put that together. I realized that was happening in a B story. Like they were working for Bane and it was comic relief and it was really entertaining, but
they can any henchman downstairs can be checked out.
Like a library book.
Like a library system. I need henchmen. I'm going to check them out because they're good at what they do. And so they go off onto their own little B plot. But ultimately, the Legion has managed to successfully separate her from her support team. And most importantly, that includes Ivy, because we're still dealing with the repercussions of the argument that the two of them had in the last episode when she wins her spot into the Legion of Doom. And no one is there to help her when she thought, she was in control and found out suddenly she wasn't. And then you start to realize that this entire episode has been her neglecting them when they most needed her. And at the end of this episode, they have split up for good. For good, I use in quotes for those.
What do you mean
not
they?
Watching. The team, the gang.
They like disband.
They have all walked out on her and they have all said, I'm no longer part of this gang. And of course, Ivy was never part of the gang, but she has walked out and said, look, I thought you were stronger than this. I thought you were better than this. And I'm tired of fighting for someone who won't fight for themselves. And she leaves. And Harley is left now in a to be continued, our first to be continued episode where, the team has decided to break up.
There was one moment that I thought about a lot later when Ivy was warming up to Harley again, because remember in the last episode they were fighting. Basically, Ivy does not want Harley to be a member of the Legion of Doom because it's harmful for her, and her abusive ex-boyfriend's like a huge member of that club. So it just makes more sense. Ivy has a total common sense here as a friend, right? You're about to go into this group of people, this crew of people that disrespect you and you know, they don't really know your value. And that's what they were arguing about. So Harley tries to, I give her kudos. She tries to reconcile with Ivy, and she's apologizing, and Ivy was like, look, come with me to my heist. Like, I'm angry because there's a, what is it? A company that's going to put up.
There's a company that's going to take down all the trees, kill all the wildlife, and pave over in order to make Gotham City this amazing. And really, the whole thing is just a plot to capture Ivy.
It's the best way to grab her attention, and she's an eco activist, so she doesn't see herself as a villain, and she asks Harley to help her. And I thought that was a great way to kind of like reconcile their friendship, because they have some of the same values, and Harley knows this is important to Ivy.
Yeah.
Then we notice, and so Harley agrees to it. Ivy goes to the, she sets up the time and the day, and she texts Harley and is like, I'm here, where are you? And Harley, look, you need to be here. And Harley was like, never mind, let's do it another time. And she's with the Joker when that happens. But it also made me wonder if Harley struggles with PDA. Have we talked about PDA?
Are you referring to public displays of affection?
No, that's a different PDA. I don't think that she struggles. Then I don't know that we have. With that.
What are we talking about?
So pathological demand avoidance, PDA, is a feature of some mental health conditions where a person is reluctant to do something that they're told to do or that they know they should do. It's almost this sense of like your locus of control. You want to be the one to decide when to do things. And so it's called demand avoidance, because when the situation, the environment, or somebody, like a person of authority, a friend, a caregiver, a parent is like, can you do this? You need to do this. Sometimes the most visceral automatic reaction is no, I'm not going to do this. And I have to first say that this is often found, or more so found in children than adults, but some adults have a lingering sense of PDA in their presentation. It can look like procrastination. It can look like avoidance. It can actually kind of in adults like come across as argumentative. Like, I'm not going to do that thing. No, even though they said they were going to do the thing, or if they know it's good for them to do it. So in its most simplest examples, think of like,
I have this.
I'm worried you're going to say you have this. And so let me start with children. Like, in its most simplest examples, a child is told, brush your teeth, tie your shoe, get dressed, go to school. They're bombarded with a lot of instructions, and let me just first say, it's very normal for anybody, whether you're a child or adult, to be reluctant to constantly be told what to do. However, for children who have this, it's almost this inherent neurobiological instinct to feel anxious when they're told or given an instruction for something to do. Sometimes this is present in neurodivergent presentations like autism and ADHD. As adults, it can manifest with some of those lingering features. I want to just also clarify that this is not a clinical disorder. This is not listed in the DSM as a clinical disorder, nor is it considered a psychiatric symptom. It's a feature that often co-occurs with
something else.
Presentations. Yeah. So on its own, you don't really see it on its own. Often you'll see it with autism, ADHD, sometimes trauma, other presentations, anxiety. And I just kind of wish that it had like a different name, because it almost sounds like, a person just can't be told what to do. And let me just normalize that. A lot of us don't like to be told what to do.
Right.
So it's above and beyond
to
that.
give it a clarification, because, I kid, but I'm also not kidding. I think I have this.
So wait, say more about that. Why do you think that
I'm trying to say more about that. Tell
me more, and don't say no that you're not.
Nah, I'm not going to do it now. Not because you asked me to.
Right.
No, my whole thing is I do get a sense, it's not anxiety, but let's just say, I'm just going to use us as an example, our relationship as an example. And I'm going to make something up. This is not a problem that we have in our relationship, so don't get excited, folks. Let's say you tell me to take out the garbage, and I may have already, for the last half hour, been thinking about taking out the garbage, but now I want to do it less. Not because you asked me to, but because internally, and maybe this is the anxiety part that you're talking about, I get an overwhelming sense of there is an actual feeling that I'm having. And it's sort of this feeling like you think I am a child, or you think I'm an idiot, or you think I think badly about myself because I think that you think badly about me. Like I wouldn't have thought to take care of myself had you not been here to tell me to do it. Like I would not have thought ever to have taken out the garbage had you not made sure to tell me to take out the garbage. And so, yeah, I don't, and I can't think of an example, like a real example off the top of my head right now, but I do feel that way when people feel the need to tell me to do things, as if to suggest that as a 47-year-old man, that wasn't already on my list of things to do. Like I didn't need that person to prod me to do it. And yes, it does make me defiant. It makes me say to myself, not just to that person, but to myself, yeah, I'll do it when I want to do it. Like I'll do it when I get around to doing it. And like sometimes I'll wait until the very last minute before I go to bed to take out that garbage, because I still know I'm going to do it. And I still realize I have to do it, but I'm going to wait till the last possible second. And
so fucking annoying.
Well, again, I'm not, but.
Well, and I'm glad you explained that, because especially for teens and young adults who struggle with this, I think that people see this behavior and they're like, they're just lazy.
Yeah.
They just like, they procrastinate. They're lazy. They don't want to do it. And it's like, no.
So this is why I owe thanks to you. Because over our long relationship, I have come to realize that I'm not as lazy as I once thought I was. Because I also used to think, God, I am lazy. And I just don't want to get up off the couch or whatever. And then the longer and longer you and I have been together, and the more I've learned about things like this, the more I'm able to put my finger on, oh no, it's not that I'm lazy. It's that, as you have explained to me.
Because I'm constantly sending you articles.
As you have explained to me, I most likely have ADHD. Like I joke about like, oh, it's my ADHD, but like,
yeah,
you have said, no, Brian, like you have it.
Well,
and now when you say that this is not a symptom, but this is
it's like a feature.
It's a feature of ADHD. Like I then realize I am not the lazy person I always thought I was. I will get stuff done, but my brain works a little different.
Yeah. And psychologists will often talk about the inability for us to put, for clients to put their foot on the gas. Like once their foot's on the gas, they get going, they do great things. They go far, but for some reason, the neurobiology of getting the foot to the gas pedal can be some of the biggest struggles.
100%.
And I want to say this again. I hope I'm not repeating myself, that a lot of us don't like, I hope folks listening aren't like, oh, I automatically have that. You may, but it could be natural Now, not for me. I like to be told what to do. Let me be very clear. Tell me what to do more frequently than not. I'm an autonomous? Automaton.
Oh, you're not automaton?
I'm an automaton. No, there are times where I tire of making the decisions and kind of like having a lot of executive functioning, firing all the time, that I don't mind a day of just being told what to do. I don't mind that at all.
So what you're saying is,
it's kind of like, just tell me what to do.
Take out the garbage.
Things might get done more efficiently. But yeah, I don't have this. If people direct me or instruct me, I follow orders. Like, that's just my neurobiology. Is that's you just do it because it's, I trust that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Does it make you feel good? Like for me, if I'm told to do things, especially if I'm given a list of things to do. Again, you use the word anxiety, and I don't know that I would call it anxiety what I'm feeling, but maybe it is. Maybe this is just a different form of anxiety. Do you get a sort of a dopamine hit by marking things off the list? By, like, if someone gives you a list of things to do.
This is such a good example, because people with PDA who use lists find that to be such an anxiety-provoking system. They don't want the list. As soon as they start making a list, they just don't want to do those things anymore. I love list making and crossing items off the list. I will make a list of menial things so that I can feel like my brain believes that I've done something.
Do you put things on the list that you've already done? Just
I don't
so
do.
I'm
not a psychopath. I don't do that. Well,
I do that.
That's very interesting. I don't know why.
If I showed you my work calendar, my little book, where I put down lists of things, in order to not remind myself, but in order to sort of be like, I think it's my way of countering the list. It's my way of saying, God, there are these things I need to do, but look at these things I've already done. Like, I will write down, oh, these were all the things I needed to get done today, and here are the 10 things I already did today, and I mark them off.
Our brains work differently. And if that's effective, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. I was kidding earlier when I said that's psychopathy.
Only when you found out your husband and co-host is a psychopath. Yeah.
So here's kind of $1 million question to know if you have this. Will you even put off things that you want to do?
Yeah. It took me 25 years to write a screenplay because I can't build up. Like, I have all the desire in the world. I cannot build up just doing it, like getting to the computer and writing. Like, the moment I even tell myself in my own brain, come on, man, get up, just go write. Mm-hmm. Spend 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Like, write for 2 hours, whatever. Just go write. I then go, I really don't want to do that. It suddenly becomes a chore.
Right. It almost feels like it's an external locus of control. And that's very interesting about this feature, is that it's not just other people. It's also but
I do well with deadlines.
Well, you gotta be, I mean, you might have mastered this, and there's ways to work through this. But if that, even for things that you want to do or know you should do, that your initial reaction is to resist it. It's almost like there's a need to direct yourself, direct your own surroundings, direct your schedule. And even when there's this sense that you have to do it, there's a bit of a delay on that. There's a bit of a resistance. Some people with PDA will also, there are some physical aspects of this. They might hold their pee. They know they have to pee. They will tell themselves, I need to pee, but they'll hold it until they just have to go.
Okay.
Does that, you've heard of this? Are you
asking me if I've got that?
No, you don't have to be that explicit, but you've heard of this before. I think you even brought up an example of this.
Well, there was a lady that I saw on YouTube, and she is a licensed psychiatrist, And she also happens to be a diagnosed psychopath. And she said that she will hold her pee because she believes that she does not get dopamine hits from doing kind things for people the way that other people, like if they give someone on the street money or buy that person food or help, drive someone to the store who needs it, whatever. Oftentimes, one of the motivating reasons for us doing kind things for other people is that it makes us feel good about ourselves. And she says, no, that doesn't make me feel good about myself. If I hand a homeless person on the street $1, I walk away just feeling like, oh, I gave that person $1. Like, it's not like there is no dopamine hit from that. She believes that by holding it in for as long as possible, the relief she will eventually get from letting it go is the same dopamine hit that she feels others must feel. And I don't know that that's true, but that's how she is.
I wonder if there's some PDA happening there, but and I don't know who she is. Nonetheless, this is to delay something, even if it's pleasurable.
Yes.
That can be a sign of PDA,
right?
Because there's, there's this avoidance of doing something because you must do it or you need to do it. And there's this kind of natural resistance to that. I bring this back. So the reason this came up for me is that when Ivy texted Harley and said, hey, you said you're not here, come here.
Yeah.
You said you'd meet me.
Yeah.
Harley's initial reaction is, no, I'm not doing that. And of course we're meant to believe that the Joker is giving her, they're on this like not date where he's giving her all this attention and affection. And I think at first glance, it looks like she's sort of like dismissing her friend because she's getting attention.
Yeah.
A part of it is that, but PDA is also a feature that co-occurs with PTSD and other relationship traumas and histories of relationship abuse, where there's such anxiety and a fear of uncertainty that being told what to do sometimes feels like someone's taking control away from you. And so her immediate reaction was like, no, you're not going to tell me, I'm not going to be there. You don't tell me what to do. And again, it's not, it at its root, it's not defiance, it's not misbehavior, it's not laziness. It's this neurodivergent aspect of wanting the locus of control to be internal and not doing well with being given this instruction or direction. And then the most immediate reaction is just to deny it, just to refuse. It's very dysregulating, and it's very important to pay attention to the word P, pathological. We all do this once in a while, but pathological means it's a problem. It impacts your relationships. It impacts your job. It impacts your functioning in some way. And, it's something to work at.
So let me ask you this. And I guess the closest thing I can think of, we joked around, there's it's not a personality test. They make it very clear, but the DISC training, you answer a number of questions and it tells you if you're a D, which is like a dominant or some sort of, I don't remember what all the DISC mean, but ultimately what this test is supposed to do is help you learn how to communicate with the other person. So it's not how you want to be communicated with. It's to help you understand this person's a high D. They need to be communicated this way. You cannot write an email to someone with a high D a book. They're not going to have time to read that. For them, they want it kind of to the point.
How do you know if someone? So do you sign it big D? Like, how do you know?
Because
sorry.
The reason
high D.
No, because like with our company, we did this as a company and learned about each other.
But what if people forgot, like, Brian is a D?
They totally did.
So do you put it in your email signature, like, I'm a D?
No.
No. Okay.
No, and that's why companies don't get any better at this. This is why this could be just too expensive and useless, because it told me a lot about myself and how I want people to communicate with me. And for other people that I like and respect and I work with, it told me how to communicate with them. And I remember, like, there's someone at our company that I distinctly remember having the conversation with, and I'm like, great. Now, this is how I communicate with that person, because I remember this is, what they were. However, so
how would
this,
you?
I want to ask my question.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, how do you communicate with a C?
I can't remember what the C.
I'm a C, so the C is like conscientious.
Something like that. Yeah. Like I know that like. We'll have to figure. We'll have to revisit this in the next next episode after I go back and look at the things again. I know that like a D. I think it's the DC. It's extremely rare to find someone who has a high D and C. Essentially, what it means is. So if when I say high, what that means is there's a median line that's basically a 0. And most likely what is happening is your personality is high in one of those letters, but below the median line in all the others.
Oh, I see.
Or you could have a combination of high, but ultimately you're lower than the line in the other things. And the reason that they are able to determine, like, for example, why are you so tired at the end of the day? Well, it's probably because you have to expel 2 times, 3 times more energy doing this thing you're not high in on a daily basis, rather than focusing on the things that you're really good at.
Oh, so you want to match your tasks and your projects to the
correct.
Like the
so
type.
It helps you figure out your support system as well. Do I need an administrative assistant to do the paperwork because I can't be bothered to do the paperwork? Maybe, and that would make my day better, and that might make their day better because they're doing things they're good at or whatever. Like it's that sort of thing. It's supposed to help with efficiency. But the reason I brought this up is, now that you know, and I don't mean between the two of us, but I mean like in general, when you find out that someone has PDA, how do you then communicate with them differently? Because now you know that giving that person a list of things to do is not a good idea, or the way that you're delivering the list to that person is not a good idea. So how would you instruct the listeners to communicate with someone that they believe or know has this defiance?
When I know that it's that the root is anxiety or a sense of loss of control or wanting to have a sense of autonomy, it's usually, there are a couple of solutions. One is to reduce the feeling of being overwhelmed or adding uncertainty to them. So it means just reducing the sensory overload to reduce the demands. So, and I think a lot of parents struggle with this just in general. You want to reduce the amount of times that you give a direction or an instruction or even an order. If you know they've clocked the ask, you don't need to keep repeating yourself. And so that's something that folks can do if they know someone struggles with PDA, is like, don't just repeat the same instruction. That's just going to increase anxiety and procrastination. That person is dealing with the fight or flight or freeze mechanism. So that's, keep putting pressure on them. That's not going to help them. The second thing I'd say is devise a routine so that they know, it's still situational, that's telling them to do the thing. Every Monday night, you take out the trash or something, like alarm systems, scheduling, devices, reminders, notifications. It's still being told what to do or having this trigger or having the signal of what to do, but it's not a person telling you to do this. Sometimes people do better with just a routine and some digital reminders. But as I mentioned, feeling out of control can feel like a trigger. So, give them some agency. When can they just make decisions on their own? Again, this is very contextualized for children, right? But for adults, I think this makes a lot of sense. Where in their lifestyle can they just do the things they want to do on their time? This actually has a lot of implications for work from home work styles, because that allows an employee to manage themselves and do the things, and it actually can be really efficient.
I'm so much more productive when I'm working at home than when I'm working at the office. That's because I'm able to take a step back. I'm able to do things on my own. I'm able to manage my own daily timeline, with the exception of things like meetings, things that are scheduled.
Yeah.
But I know that between this meeting and this meeting, I can do this thing, or I can do this later. And by the end of the day, everything is marked off my list. Now, it may not have been at the same time that other people may have done it, and it may not be at the same time as when I'm going to work and I'm there until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever. I might do something at 8 o'clock that I probably should have done at 3 or something. But for me, I'm getting my work done. I'm feeling good about it, and I'm not anxious or, feeling like, I guess now that I know the PDA.
Yeah, the extra sense, the extra layer of demand on you that increases your anxiety.
If I need to get up and walk, if I need to go take a mile walk to feel, I can do that. Whereas I can't really do that in the office. That's
my penultimate suggestion is there a space? Is there a space or room or corner for this person that's free of demands? Now, you just named one. Going for a walk on your own, hopefully you feel free of demands. People now, depending on what time of day it is and if you have your phone on you,
but then I get the anxiety that there are emails coming in that I should be addressing.
So design that, and again, this is different for kids than adults, but for adults, design that how it makes sense for you. Someone's just kind of picking an example, like maybe if someone's in the bathroom, that's not the place where they should be given tasks or told what to do or demand like that. It could be just a safe space of like, you take care of your, all of your personal business, but like really your headspace. I think a lot of parents might relate to that too. Like, is there a space in your house where it's kind of like a free zone where you're not experiencing that? And if you don't have that, try to design that for yourself because it's really helpful. Lastly is the non-judgmental piece. Like, try not to size people up or to judge people and think of them as, lazy or lacking determination or lacking focus or being defiant. Think of this as a neurobiological sensory issue or feature of their personality, and that, it's not against you really. Keep your mind open and understand that, being as helpful and being supportive goes a long way, and will be interpreted better than, why won't you? Why can't you? Why don't you? So none of these supports and solutions are perfect, but they do help you to kind of design an interpersonal system or a family system or a relationship system where you're not creating this dynamic of putting a person feeling like there's an overwhelm with demands on them. This has a lot to do with how relationships get along, right? Because sometimes this is why relationships don't work out. Mm-hmm. Somebody feels the need to direct and instruct, and the other person is hesitant or reluctant to do those things. Then, I'm the kind of person that I don't necessarily need to tell people what to do as long as it gets done. Does that make sense? Like, yes. Again, I'd rather more people just tell me what to do.
I'll keep that in mind. I will keep that in mind. Well, this is interesting. Would you say that we've had a breakthrough? Like, have
No.
I had a breakthrough today?
No, that's up to you.
Is this what happens when you go to therapy and you're like, oh, you've explained so much? Like, I imagine that this is what it feels like. But this podcast is my therapy sessions.
Well, that's good.
So I feel good about it. So now when you tell me to take out the trash, I'm going to be like, PDA, and then you'll know. Eventually, I will take out the trash.
You'll hold up a card that says PDA.
PDA. Just so you know, this is what I'm feeling right now. PDA. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Drea, one more time before we let the good folks go, why don't you remind them about our panel next week at WonderCon 2025?
So if you're in the SoCal or Anaheim area, come to WonderCon. Tickets are available day of. It's that kind of convention. It's super fun.
And for those that don't know, this is the sister convention to Comic-Con.
Yes.
It's owned by the same people,
And
San
I
Diego
think-
Comic-Con,
I think
and
people-
it feels like Comic-Con.
It's like it's like a baby cousin or a little sister or a little brother. It's like it's very similar to Comic-Con, but it's accessible and you don't have to wait in such long lines. And it's I find it to be one of my favorite conventions. It will be from March 28th to March 30th.
Yep.
And our panel is Friday, March 28th, 8 p.m., room 300A. I believe that's in just a few days, given that this podcast is coming out on like a Monday. The second thing I'd say is if you want to get involved with the panel passively, send us a question. The topic is Arkham Asylum. You can send a question to us on our Discord. The Discord link is on our Instagram. You can go to drdreapsychology.com and hit that orange button that says submit a message, and you could record a message. We could even find a way to play it at the convention. So lots of fun ways to integrate our audience. And then lastly, the panel will be recorded. So there will be a way for y'all to check it out, even if you can't be there in person.
For sure. And otherwise, why don't you tell them where they can find you online?
drdreapsychology.com is my website, and you can also find me on my socials at Dr. Drea Psychology.
You can find me on Instagram. I am B_Ward028. You can find us both on Instagram at the Arkham Sessions. You can also find us on a number of other social media sites, Blue Sky, Threads, yada, yada. There's also Facebook. You can join our family over at Fanbase Press. And I want to thank those of you who have helped make this episode and all of our episodes possible by contributing to Patreon. Those members are Dr. Jerome Anderson, Antonio Lopez, Heroes Journey Fitness, Kevin Ortel, Todd Stashwick, Brian Kerr, Trevor Schwartz, Bert Compton, Mark Pepper, Frank Moeller, Swara Salih, and Peter. Thank you all so much for making these episodes possible. We can't do it without you, and we appreciate your support. Till next time, I'm Brian Ward.
I'm Dr. Drea Letamendi.
And together we are
The Arkham Sessions.
And that's all the time we have.
Rough.
Oh, and my apologies to Bane, who wanted to do some magic.
It was going to be a spectacle.